Welcome to this explainer. I am so incredibly thrilled you're joining us. Today, we are going to completely transform the way you learn, process, and actually hold on to information. Look, if you've ever felt like your brain is just a leaky bucket, you're definitely not alone. But right here, right now, we're going to take that untrained memory and turn it into a highly organized, permanent vault. So let's jump right in.
We've all been there, haven't we? You're at a party. You shake a guy's hand, he smiles and says, "Hi, I'm Jason." You chat for a few minutes, you walk over to grab a drink, and suddenly realize you have absolutely zero idea what his name is. It's gone. Poof. It's just a super frustrating, everyday experience that makes us feel like our brains are literally failing us.
But here is a fundamental truth I want you to really let sink in today. Your memory is not broken. Your system is. You don't lack intelligence, and you definitely don't have a fundamentally weak brain. What you're missing is just a structured system for actually filing that information away. And that changes today. To build that system, here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're breaking down the life cycle of a memory into 5 phases. 1, why you forget. 2, visuals and stories. 3, building permanent storage. 4, the power of output. And finally, 5, protecting your mental space. All right, starting off with phase 1, why you forget. Let's look at the root cause of what's actually going wrong up there. Think about your brain like a massive library. If you just toss a book on the floor, it's gonna get lost. The problem is, most of us are operating purely in short-term memory, which is basically a whiteboard. You scribble something down, but if you don't actively save it, it gets wiped completely clean by the end of the day. Long-term memory, on the other hand, that's a permanent notebook. Once it's carefully written in there, it stays for good. But to even write in that notebook, you gotta open it first. Memory begins with attention. Imagine you're hopping out of a taxi, totally distracted by a text on your phone, and you leave your bag in the back seat. You try to remember the license plate, but you can't. Why? Well, because your brain never actually paid attention to it. You literally cannot save a file if you never clicked open in the first place. Which brings us to phase 2, visuals and stories. It's time to translate the things you do notice into formats your brain simply can't ignore. Here is a totally fascinating core truth. Our brains remember images, not text. If I say the word elephant, you don't visualize the letters E-L-E-P-H-A-N-T floating in space. You see a huge gray animal with big ears, right? Words on their own are abstract and boring to the brain. So if you want to remember the word volcano, don't just try to memorize the text. Visualize a massive birthday cake erupting with red-hot chocolate lava. It's that vivid, unshakable image that actually sticks. And you can take it a step further by stringing those images together using the story method. Look, if I give you a random, disconnected list of words, apple, horse, jacket, candle, ice cream, you're going to forget them in minutes. But what if you visualize a giant apple falling from the sky and smacking a horse? The horse runs off in a panic, steals a jacket, lights a candle in the dark, and then accidentally melts a whole ice cream cone. By creating this absurd, connected movie in your mind, you totally bypass the brain's natural rejection of boring lists. Also, keep this in mind. The stronger the emotion, the deeper the memory. We remember facts so much better when we attach feelings to them. So don't just memorize the date April 15th, 1912. Feel the sheer human tragedy of the Titanic, the love, the loss, the bravery. That emotion literally signals your amygdala to store the information permanently. Heck, even for a boring math formula like the area of a triangle, just generate fake emotion. Pretend you're starving, the triangle is a slice of pizza, and you are ridiculously frustrated that you're only getting half a slice. Emotion equals retention.
Okay, so you've paid attention, and you've encoded the memory using visuals and emotions. Now for phase 3. Building permanent storage. Let's lock this stuff away so it never degrades. This is all based on the famous Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. If you learn a really cool word like serendipity today, but you never review it, it's like writing a message in sand at the beach. The tide just washes it away. But if you review it after 1 hour, and then 1 day, and then 4 days, you are actively practicing spaced repetition. And every single time you review it, you're essentially carving that memory deeper and deeper into solid stone. Now, another legendary tool for permanent storage is the Mind Palace. Sounds a bit intense, right? It's a mental technique used by world memory champions, but honestly, it's incredibly accessible for all of us. It works because it leverages a natural human strength.
Our brains are exceptionally good at remembering spatial geography and locations, way better than we are at remembering random abstract data.
So let's turn this into an actionable system for you. Step 1, pick a familiar place, like your own house. Step 2, assign those crazy vivid images we talked about to each room. And step 3, just mentally walk through the space. So if you want to memorize the planets, imagine a literally burning, red-hot pan sitting right in the middle of your living room for Mercury. Then walk into your kitchen and picture a huge perfume bottle spraying thick pink fog everywhere for Venus. By just taking a mental stroll through your own home, you can recall an absolutely unbelievable amount of information.
And I've got a fantastic scientific secret to cement all of this. Use the last 10 minutes right before you fall asleep. See, when you sleep, your brain acts like a librarian, staying up late to sort through the day's events. If you spend your last 10 minutes mindlessly scrolling Instagram reels, well, your brain just saves those. Instead, try reviewing 10 key vocabulary words or concepts right before closing your eyes. You're basically handing them to the librarian and saying, hey, this is important, please save this. Let's move on to phase 4, the power of output. This is where we figure out how actively extracting information actually fortifies your memory pathways. Believe it or not, the absolute most powerful thing you can do with new information is output it, because teaching is remembering twice. If you learn a word like procrastinate and you just passively read the dictionary definition, you're going to forget it, for sure. But if you turn around and explain it to a friend in your own words, you are forcing your brain to recall, organize, and articulate the whole concept. You immediately shift from being just a passive student to an active memory master. And writing things out by hand is another incredible form of output. Think of physical writing as your brain's manual save button. Typing on a keyboard is super fast and automatic, right? But physically writing out a sentence about a complex concept like resilience, that forces you to slow down your thinking. It naturally organizes your thoughts, and it builds these deep physical memory pathways that a keyboard simply cannot replicate. Which leads us perfectly into active recall. This simply means testing yourself by pulling information from your memory without peeking at the answer. Think of it like lifting a really heavy mental dumbbell. You read a great quote like, consistency is more important than intensity. Okay, now close the book, stare at the wall, and force yourself to retrieve those exact words. Enduring that slightly uncomfortable, productive struggle, that is exactly what builds serious muscle in your memory. All right, we have arrived at our final, and honestly, perhaps the most crucial phase of all, phase 5, protecting your mental space. Here is a really harsh truth for the modern digital age we live in. A crowded brain simply cannot remember anything. Have you ever walked to the store to get just 5 basic things, milk, apples, bread, onions, soap, and somehow you completely forget the onions and soap? It is not because you have a weak mind. It's because on the walkover, you checked a dozen notifications, scrolled through memes, and read 3 emails. Your essential mental grocery list was literally buried under a mountain of digital junk. So you have to ask yourself, is your mind a dump, just totally flooded with noise and endless distractions? Or is it a garden, with firmly protected boundaries and spaces for intentional silence? Because you cannot have mental clarity if you're constantly drowning in distraction. We all need to practice a bit of digital fasting. Give yourself time every single day with no phone, just quiet. You have to aggressively protect your mental boundaries if you want these new memories to take root and flourish. Which leaves us with this final, somewhat provocative question to really chew on today. Are you building your mind or are you burying it? True memory mastery isn't just some lucky biological trait you're born with. It is a daily, intentional decision about exactly what you allow into your head and how you choose to file it away. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Now get out there, protect your mental space, start building your own permanent memory system, and I will see you next time.